Why are you asking for DNA testing now, 4 years later?
Simply because my son doesn't have any, characteristic traits of mine.
He has your last name.
They already put me in jail for no reason.
And are
And
you employed right now?
yes, I want to see him like as soon as possible. That's the thing. So I mean, I'm gonna just if she doesn't call the cops, then yeah, I'll just see him tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I can't guarantee she's not gonna call the cops, but y'all enjoy playing games with each other. You enjoy antagonizing, getting the other person angry.
We're here in a suit affecting the parent-child relationship with an AOP. There is a preliminary issue of DNA testing that I'd request the court consider first. Mr. Lubiano is requesting DNA testing. However, the state is not in agreement due to the AOP that he signed.
Okay, give me just a moment. All right, Mr. Lubiano, there is a acknowledged paternity on file for David Lubiano, who was born July 17th of 2019. You signed an acknowledged paternity on or around that date that he was born, which was, it was about 4 years ago. Well, yeah, more than 4 years ago. In that paper that you signed, you said that you were absolutely sure you were the father, that you did not want DNA testing, and that you understood that that was a legal finding, that you were the biological father. Why are you asking for DNA testing now, 4 years later?
Simply because my son doesn't have any, characteristic traits of mine.
He has your last name.
Characteristic traits.
Okay. What else?
So whenever her and I were together, I took a trip to Mexico. And, we had our son at a very young age. And when I come back, I guess you could say we're in love or whatever. She tells me, just get me pregnant, We're young and, we weren't thinking. So that pregnancy, I guess you could say, was planned. But, it's just she comes up to me and asks me that. And, I'm in love with her, so I don't think twice. And that's after my trip. I had came already from Mexico. And, within a week, I seen her. So those were my doubts. Well, I mean, ever since the beginning, but I kind of just put them aside.
I don't understand how that story helps. Just tells me how y'all wind up deciding to conceive a child. How does that help me to determine that maybe that you're not the father?
I don't get what's not to get.
Well, you told me that y'all basically, she said, I want to have sex with you and I want to have a child. And you said yes. And so you had sex and there was a child born. So that's really the summary of that. You said you were gone and she missed you when you were gone and y'all had sex. So a child was born. I don't understand how that makes me dispute or have any doubts that you're the father.
I have doubts that I'm the father because, she's not always been faithful to me.
Well, that's more relevant than what you told me before.
I don't get what's there. I mean, I guess you wouldn't get it because, I guess you don't know all the details that there is to know about us.
Well, that's
But
what I asked you
yes,
to tell me, sir.
What was that?
That's what I asked you to tell me. I mean, that you telling me that you had sex obviously I would assume that you had sex, even if you're not the father, because otherwise that would be a really good reason for me to doubt whether I was the father or not. But I mean, that doesn't help me. If you're saying she may have cheated on you, that's different.
Yes, that's what I'm
Reason,
saying.
then maybe I may have some dispute. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, and it wasn't just that one time, If you're talking about that, then yes, it's been throughout the whole relationship.
Okay, so tell me this then. This is what I don't understand. If you
Yeah.
think she's been unfaithful to you, if you think that she got pregnant pretty quickly after y'all started having sex again, why did it take you 4 years to ask for DNA testing?
No, I've been asking for DNA testing, I just didn't know, who to go to and where to go. you know, I was just focused on working and trying to keep my family and, you know, but she knows that I've been having doubts and, you know, she
But
would,
you haven't
like,
taken any action to get DNA tests done. You haven't gone to CVS
I
to get
was
a DNA
hoping
test. You
to,
haven't contacted any kind of facility to do DNA testing. You're just gonna wait until maybe child support is gonna happen to do DNA testing. Is that what you're telling me?
yes, they told me that this was, you know, the safest way to do it. And then they say that if I go, you know, to CVS, that they're not accurate, just like, you know, like the other tests they have that are not accurate, like the COVID test. So, you know, I just wanted to go through the courts to do it.
Well, the CVS DNA tests are accurate. They're 99.99% accurate.
I
They
mean,
can't be
you
used
say,
in court. Let me finish, sir. They cannot be used in court. They're not admissible in court, but it doesn't change the results. You're either the father, you're not the father, according to what the results say. The problem
okay,
of why we can't use them in court is because we don't have, can't make sure that people have actually took the test themselves, or they sent their cousin or their friend to do the DNA test. But that doesn't change the result. If you know you took the test and the child and the mother took the test, then the results are the results. You know, that's being admissible and whether they're correct are two different things. They're going to be correct if everybody took them, but they just might not be some that I can see in court. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes people like to send their friend to do a DNA test, and that's why we don't use them in court. But that doesn't mean that if everybody was legit, then you'll get the right results. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Lubiano, before I ask Ms. Gama some questions?
anything else to add about the DNA testing?
Yes.
Can I, if you deny the DNA testing, can I do the DNA testing somewhere else just to know?
And no matter what I decide, you can always do DNA test on your own, but it may not change your court order. Yeah, if I do an order today or sometime in the future, then you're gonna have a limited time to appeal that decision. If you decide to wait another 4 years, like you did this time, it's very likely that you're not gonna get your child support overturned. So what you, you know, let's say hypothetically, we do a court order today to put you on child support, and you wait 5 years to do a DNA test, and then you find out you're not the father, you're still going to pay child support for David here until he turns 18. If you do it immediately, then you might be able to get overturn it, and that would be a good reason. I'm sure the district judge would want to overturn that order, but that would require you to do something more active other than just waiting on everybody else to do something for you. You understand that?
I understand.
I mean, for me, if it was me, I'd want to know immediately, especially if I had doubts from the very beginning. You know, and because we do things based on what's best for the child. The child's named after you. He's probably been calling you daddy for the last 4 years, and it's disruptive to him to find out that he might be wrong about who his father is. We want to know immediately so that way we can get the right person and they can be named as a father. And that way this little boy is not confused about who his father is. That's why we don't want people to wait 4 or 5 years for that to happen. Ms. Gama, do you have any doubts whether or not he is the father of this child?
No,
Were you having sex with somebody else during the time of conception of this child?
no,
You believe he's just asking this to delay the case?
yes,
All right, Mr. Lubiano, I'm gonna deny your request for DNA testing. It's been too long. I don't understand why you waited 4 years. If the child was less than 4 years, I might consider it, but it's been too long. And you had the ability to do it, you just chose not to. So whether or not the results later may say something different, you're gonna be put on child support. Ms. Nutt, do you all
Okay.
want to renegotiate, or do you want to just go ahead and do a hearing here?
We have negotiated, just in case the request was denied, so I have some information.
Okay, let me pass it over to you then to take the lead.
I will call the mother, Miss Gama. Will you state your name?
Juliana Gama,
And what's the name of the child?
David Lubiano,
And how old is he?
he's 4,
Okay, and who is he living with?
me,
Has there been any family violence in the last 2 years between you and the father?
no,
Um, Do you believe that you and Mr. Lubiano can make decisions and communicate together about your child?
No.
And can you explain why?
Just due to some reasons where he switches up and down on the dates that he wants to visit him.
And whenever y'all do get in contact with each other, is it a civil communication or does it do things escalate?
Things escalate.
And how do they escalate?
We tend to argue, and we just tend to argue about money.
And as far as making decisions for the child, such as educational decisions or medical decisions, has Mr. Lubiano been involved in those kind of decisions in the past?
No.
And has he expressed an interest in wanting to be involved in those decisions?
No.
And do you think if that you were named as joint managing conservators, meaning you would, communicate and co-parent together, that would create an issue, or do you think you could do it civilly?
I can do it civilly.
And would you be in agreement to establish your child's residence in Dallas or any contiguous county?
Yes.
What kind of health insurance does your son have?
A married group?
Do you have any private insurance available at a reasonable cost?
No.
And do you know if Mr. Lubiano is working?
No.
Do you think he's capable of holding a job?
No.
If he was working and we have that information from him, would that surprise you or?
No.
So we have calculated child support based on Mr. Lubiano making $12 per hour at 35 hours per week. We've calculated child support at $290 per month, beginning September 1st. Are you in agreement with that amount?
Yes.
And we've calculated medical support at $163 per month.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in agreement with that amount?
Yes.
Are you requesting retroactive child support today?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Oops. Are you requesting retroactive child support today?
Yes.
And are you requesting it for the last 8 months?
Yes.
And in the last 8 months, have you and Mr. Lubiano lived together?
No.
And has he sent you anything like money or bought anything for the child to help support the child?
Just 2 months or 3 months.
And what did he do? Did he send you money?
He sent me in 2 months, he sent me like 300, and then the rest was just like just stuff for the baby.
Okay, so if you had to estimate how much between what he sent you in money and what he bought for the baby in the last 8 months, how much would that add up to be?
620.
And are you in agreement to give him credit for those items and the money he sent you?
Yes.
And are you requesting that Mr. Lubiano's visitation with the child be supervised?
Yes.
Okay. And has he ever had your son unsupervised before in the past?
No, he's had him supervised before in the past.
Okay, so he's never had him for a weekend or an overnight without any supervision?
No, he has had him for the weekend as well.
And when was the last time he did that?
Like a few months ago. Not sure when. I'm sorry.
And why do you want his visits to be supervised now?
Just due to the fact he got more aggressive.
And has he ever gotten aggressive towards the child?
Yes, but he's never hit him.
And when he has gotten aggressive towards the child, what kind of things has he done?
Just to yell.
And if the court does grant supervised visits, who are you wanting to be the supervisor?
Me.
And how long do you want the supervised visits to be for?
As long as the court grants me it.
So do you have concerns for your son's safety if you were to go over to Mr. Lubiano's residence without any supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any concerns with your address or your phone number being printed in the court order?
Yes.
And can you specify what those concerns are?
Just my safety.
Has Mr. Lubiano ever come over to your residence unannounced or uninvited?
Yes,
And when's the last time he did that?
few months ago.
All right, and can you describe that situation?
He was just arguing about not wanting to help me.
And he showed up at your residence?
Yes.
Did he come inside or what happened?
He just kept knocking on the doors.
Okay. And have the police ever been called out between the two of you?
Yes.
When was the last time the police were called?
The day that he had came to knock on all the doors, I called for trespassing.
And did the police come out?
No, they just called me.
Did they arrest Mr. Lubiano for anything?
Yes, for trespassing and aggravated assault with deadly weapon.
And so when he was knocking on your door, he had a deadly weapon with him?
No, it wasn't that time. That was just his charge.
Okay, so he was charged with the trespassing for knocking on your door, correct?
Yes, that was the only charge with me.
Okay, so the charge of the deadly weapon was not in regard to you or the child.
No.
Do you have any safety concerns with Mr. Lubiano having a weapon around the child?
Yes.
Do you know if he keeps it locked? I'm guessing it. Do you know if it's a gun?
No, I don't know.
Do you know if he has any guns in his residence?
No,
He doesn't, or you don't know?
I don't know.
And are you requesting a non-disclosure so your information is marked as confidential?
Yes.
Would you be in agreement to communicate with Mr. Lubiano through an app so you don't have to communicate through your personal cell phone number?
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to tell the court that's relevant to your case?
No.
Let me ask you, besides the trespassing incident, have the police been called out between you two other than that?
No.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay,
The state calls the father, Mr. Lubiano. Will you unmute and state your name, please?
David Luviano.
And Mr. Lubiano, has there been family violence in the last 2 years between you and Ms. Gama?
No.
There was an incident where the police were called out for trespassing to her property, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were arrested because of that?
I was arrested, yes, a few weeks later, and they told me everything about the police report.
And were you charged with trespassing?
Yes, and actually on December, I have another court, I think with her dad about that.
Does she live with her dad?
She lives with her dad.
And so that trespassing case is still pending.
Still pending, yes. The time that I was absent in my son's presence, or I was in jail. I couldn't see him because, those false accusations led me to go into jail for no reason.
And is there anything, any protective order or any order stating you're not allowed to be within a certain amount of feet of Ms. Gama or the child?
Not as far as I know, because I didn't even know about those charges that they put.
And there was also a charge for assault with a deadly weapon?
Yes, about 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
And that's not in relation to Ms. Gama or the child, is that right?
That's right.
And was the deadly weapon a gun?
No, there was no deadly weapon. They actually lowered it to Class A misdemeanor, and there was no deadly weapon, so they took that off.
Okay. Do you have any guns in your
No.
residence?
No.
Okay.
And the last time I saw my son was on April 1st, and I'd like to add that on April 1st, I have a case number on Juliana.
So were the police called out on April 1st?
Yes.
And did you call the police?
no, the police was kind of just at the hospital, and I told them that I wanted to do a report. I think she did a report on her boyfriend's dog as well,
And
because
what were you at the hospital for?
I was dropping my son off just like any other Sunday, and she was with her boyfriend and a red-nosed pit bull. And his pit bull attacked my son, and I lifted the report. I took them to the hospital, and
So do you and Miss Gama usually exchange at the hospital?
what was that?
Do you and Miss Gama usually do the exchanges for the child at the hospital?
No, she usually texts me to go pick him up where she lives.
So
And
was she just by the hospital that day, or
no,
was she there with
I
the
drove
child?
them to the hospital. I drove them to, they were at a park, at a park that she lives near. And the dog attacked my boy, and I took her and my boy to the hospital.
Okay,
Drive.
and the dog is her boyfriend's dog?
Yes, but they said they couldn't do nothing about it, but I was just, concerned over his safety because, as soon as I seen the dog walking out, I'm just like, baby, my son doesn't know him. And
Does the dog live in the same residence as the child right now?
I don't know if I don't know if they keep them together or if he sees them, or I don't know, because, that's her boyfriend's dog, and, I can't do anything about it.
Has there been any physical violence in the past 2 years between you and Miss Gama?
No, no physical violence.
Okay, and has there ever been any instances where you or Miss Gama get aggressive with each other?
No,
And
it's just contradicting herself always. Like, for example, she says that, I'm never invited to pick up my son, but when in reality, it's just, every every weekend it would be like, I have my son every weekend.
and have
Ev-
there been any instances where you've gotten aggressive towards your son?
No, only whenever he does something like he goes running around and, it's unsafe. I tell him like, hey, no, like I just want him to understand.
Do you
And
think that you and Miss Gama can co-parent and make decisions for your child together?
I feel like the app that you're saying would be better because it would help with a lot of contradicting that goes on. And
Okay,
I feel
so
like,
if you and Miss Gama only communicate through the app, you think that will improve your communication together?
yes,
And do you think that your visits with your son need to be supervised?
I don't think so, and especially not by her, because I know how, things usually play out for like 5 years. This is not nothing new.
And when
By
is the
maybe
last
by her,
time?
maybe by her mom, or you know, by someone else, but not by her, because I don't want anything bad to go wrong.
When's the last time you had your son in your possession without Miss Gama being there?
On April 1st, the last time I seen him was in the incident. And ever since then, that's when, the police came knocking in my place, and, I haven't I
And
haven't
have
heard
you
back.
had your son with you overnight in the past before?
Yes, I've ever since we separated, he's always stayed the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the afternoon. He would go back.
And are you wanting a standard possession schedule where you have every first, third, and fifth weekend of the month with your son without supervision?
What was that?
Are you requesting a standard visitation schedule where you have every first, third, and fifth weekend of the month with your child?
Uh, I mean,
That's
if
like
it's
almost
possible,
every other weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible every weekend, I would just like the things to go back how they were. Cause ever since, that trip to jail, I haven't seen or heard nothing from him. And, quite frankly, I'm scared to go near over there because, they already put me in jail for no reason.
And are
And
you employed right now?
yes,
And do you work at Taco Bell?
yes,
Do you make $12 per hour and work about 35 hours per week?
yes,
Do you have any other children?
no,
We've calculated child support at $290 per month beginning September 1st. Do you agree or disagree with that amount?
yes, I agree.
And we've calculated medical support at $163 per month, also beginning September 1st. Do you agree or disagree to that amount?
Yes,
And you heard Ms. Gama state she wants 8 months of retroactive child support. Do you think that you should have to pay back child support for the past 8 months?
I don't think I should pay child support for 8 months. Maybe while the time I was gone in jail, yeah. But other than that, those 8 months I've been getting my son his haircuts, his clothes. I used to give her 300, but I cut it down to two because of the expenses that I was making on my son.
And in the last 8 months, were you incarcerated at any point?
Only whenever only for those accusations.
Okay, that was in April, or when was that?
That's probably like in around May.
So in the past 8 months, other than that time in May, you've not been incarcerated, right?
Yes, I haven't been incarcerated.
And Ms. Gomez testified that you sent her some money and then bought things for the child, probably crediting or adding up to $620. Do you believe that's a correct estimate, or do you think you've done more?
I've been giving her money since even before January 28th.
But in the last 8 months specifically, do you think that's a correct amount of credit, or do you think it's been more?
It's been more. Um,
How much do you think you've given her and bought for the child, all added up together?
so give me 1 second here. So I've been giving her since January $300, and then like in about February, that's when I started cutting it to $200. And then like
So you sent her $300 in January.
maybe
and
more than
200 in
2,000,
February.
maybe more than 2,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
So
Miss Nat. Can you repeat your last question?
yes. So you sent her $300 in January and $200 in February. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And
through
then what about,
January.
did you send her any payments in March?
Yes, in March, I was actually buying my boy his clothes. So like since February,
Did you
February
send her any money?
26th,
Did you send her any
$200.
money in February? Okay. In March, you sent $200.
Yes.
And did you do the same in April, May, June, July?
On May and June, I was in jail. And then on the end of June, that's when I was able to get out.
And did you send her money that month after you got out?
I had no contact with her.
Okay. So you didn't send her anything in July either?
No. June, July, April, April. Like I was with my son ever since April. June, July.
So I added up the payments you're saying you sent for January, February, March, and April. It adds up to $900. Do you think that's a more accurate amount that you've sent, or do you think it's even more in the last 8 months?
I think it's a little bit more, just
And-
basing off the, the cost of the clothes that I got him and the haircuts that I'd get for him.
And how much do you think the haircuts and the clothes add up together in total, all of them in the last 8 months?
Okay, so 10, 20, 30, 40. So I've spent like $200 on his haircuts since January, no, since like October of 2022
Is that total or per haircut?
per haircut. So it's, 40 for me and 20 for him. But I'm crossing mine out, so it's just $20.
And then how much do you think you spent on clothes for him in the last 8 months?
Uh, yeah, like about with his what's it called, his diapers and his lotions and stuff like that, like about $2,000.
Yeah. So that would be the cash you've sent her, the haircuts, and all of the diapers and lotions and clothes added together, a total of 2,000.
Yeah.
Do you have any safety concerns with your address being printed in the court order?
No.
Okay. And the mother, Ms. Gama, was requesting a non-disclosure. If it's granted, that means her information is marked as confidential. Are you wanting to know her address so you know where the child is living?
I know where he's living. That's fine then.
So if she is granted a non-disclosure and she moves to a different address, she's not required to tell you that new address. Would you be okay with that, or do you want to know what the addresses your sons are at?
As long as we, we can communicate through the app, I feel like it'll be all right. She'll send me the address through the app, and that's how I'll get it.
So she wouldn't be required to send you her address though. So if you're asking for it and you want to come pick up your son, she wouldn't have to send it to you.
So how would I be able to pick my son up?
So that's why I'm asking if you want to know her address.
I mean,
If you want
if
that in the
I
order.
won't get in trouble, if I won't get in trouble for it, then yes.
Is there anything else you want to tell the court that's relevant to your case?
I just don't want to get in trouble to go see my son again. That's all.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Let me start off before I make my ruling by saying this. I don't think anybody needs to be playing games with a child. Children are not a toy to be toyed around with, or to toy around with the other parent, or to punish the other parent. They're a human being. I can hear from both of y'all that y'all enjoy playing games with each other. You enjoy antagonizing, getting the other person angry for no reason. If you want to make your life difficult, you can continue to do that. If it were me, I'd like to have a simple life without having drama and just making things easy. Y'all have a child, y'all are not together. You may be moving on with other people, but you still have a child. Those other things don't matter. This child wants to be with each one of you, not just one parent. There's no one parent that's necessarily better than the other. So we need to make sure that we are working together, even though we may not like the other person. this child loves both of you and wants to be with both of you. I mean, we need to stop playing these games about, well, I don't know if I'm the father. I don't know if I want you to visit. I don't know how much money you gave me or didn't give me. Hopefully by this court order, it'll set it all up so that y'all don't have some of these issues, but it doesn't mean that I can fix every issue. This is still dependent on you two to cooperate with each other and work together. You just can't get your own way. Yeah, this is why we're doing a court order that dictates how we're doing it. All right, so I'm not making a finding there's been any family violence. I am appointing Ms. Gama as a managing conservator, which is the sole managing conservatorship. I am not granting your non-disclosure of your address, Ms. Gama. So you must disclose to Mr. Luviano your current address where you live. So if you move out of your parents' address and move to your, with your boyfriend somewhere else or whatever the case may be, you need to notify Mr. Luviano. Mr. Luviano, you have to do the same. Because we need to have that information. I don't want to have a deal where I'm going to move and then he can't visit me kind of thing is going to happen. Or I don't know where he goes with the child because I don't know his address kind of thing. So disclose your address to each other so they won't have that problem. The visitation, I'm doing a standard visitation order. There's no reason for me to do supervised visitation. Y'all have already done weekend visitation. Child knows who his father is. There's no reason to supervise it unless we're just being petty. So there's no reason for that. We're gonna do standard visitation. Mr. Luviano, you have the right to visit on every other weekend from Friday until Sunday. Friday at 6 p.m. until Sunday at 6 p.m. You need to work around your work schedules to make sure that y'all are both available, or at least that the child is available for the exchange. Mr. Luviano, you're gonna go to Ms. Gama's residence, knock on the door. Ms. Gama is gonna have the child ready to leave, and the child will leave without you going inside the door. There won't be any dispute with Ms. Gama or anybody else that lives there because Mr. Luviano will have a copy of the court order that he can show to any police officer that says he has the right to be there and he has the right to pick up his child. We don't need to cause any conflict. If you have a boyfriend or girlfriend that goes over there and starts causing problems, tell them not to. They're not involved in this case. They need to not be around or not cause problems. Then on Sunday, you're going to drive back to Ms. Gama's address and drop off the child. Same thing. Knock on the door. Here he is. Bye. That's all we need to do. We don't need to have a long conversation. Only time you may need to have a conversation is if the child was sick or maybe they fell down and got hurt. You can say, hey, he fell down riding his bike or playing outside. He skinned his knee. I put some Neosporin on his knee. You might just check up on that. And it's not going to be no deal where I'm accusing the other person of being a bad parent. Things happen. Little boys have accidents. They get hurt. As long as it's something reasonable, we shouldn't have any issue with that. I think both of y'all are going to keep your child safe. Child support's from $290 a month. Neither one of you have private insurance, so the state is going to cover insurance to government medical support of $163 a month. As far as the retroactive support, I think there are some months you missed payments, but you made a lot of payments, just not all of them. And so I'm ordering a judgment of $1,000 that you still owe Ms. Gama for back child support. That's ordered to be paid at $15 a month until you pay it off. If you pay it all off, then you're done with the back child support. I am gonna order that y'all talk or communicate through the App Close app. So you both need to add that app on your phone so that y'all can communicate. If y'all aren't able to do it through text or phone calls, then do it that way. To hear both of y'all kind of saying y'all have problems communicating. So if you do it through the app, that'll have a way where it'll record your conversations if it needs to be used in court in the future. So if someone asks a question and nobody responds, that's something you can show the judge. Or if somebody curses or whatever, or harasses the other parent, it'll all be on App Close. It'll be on there that you can print out and show a judge if you need to. So hopefully that will stop some of the games that y'all are playing with each other, if y'all want to do it that way. Mr. Luviano, you're ordered to pay the court costs of this case that Dallas County will send you separately later. All right, so hopefully these rules will help out. The standard visitation order starts next weekend. Next weekend is the third weekend of August. So next Friday will be the first weekend of visitation at 6 p.m. You also have the right to visit every week for 2 hours on every Thursday from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. So this Thursday, you can start your visitation if you want to do that. Mr. Lubiano, do you want to do your visitation this Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. We may or may not have a copy of the court order there by then. But if you want to do that, so you might not have an order with you in hand this week. Well, so we need to make sure we understand that there's going to be a 2-hour visitation, not overnight, just 2 hours. So you can take them out to McDonald's or something, or the park or whatever you want to do. Have fun for a couple hours and come back. Probably be a good way to get the visitation started again, since we've had some problems in the past and there hasn't been much visitation in the last few months. So let's start there, and hopefully y'all won't have any problems. The Attorney General's office will draft an order with all of that what I entered in as my ruling. You'll need to read the order. Anytime you have questions, go back and read the order. That's the first thing you should do before you start arguing with the other parent. Make sure that you're correct before you start arguing with them. And hopefully that will resolve a lot of your issues. All right, if there's nothing further, then y'all are done with court today. I need to move on to some other cases. Anything else y'all need to ask me before I leave, before I let y'all go?
No.
I'm just afraid that the same thing will happen again with the police situation.
Okay, you want to wait till next Thursday then?
I mean, this Thursday is fine. I just, if you could talk to her or anything, because putting,
I already
false
did
police
talk to her. I
report-
talked to both of you. I'm hoping there won't be any problems. I'm trusting Ms. Gama's not going to, but if you don't feel right, that's fine. I understand. If you want to wait till next Thursday, I think they do the orders for me to this afternoon.
if
I probably sign them first thing in the morning. If they have your email address, it gets emailed out to you tomorrow. If they don't have your email address, you're not going to get a copy of it. So you need to make sure the Attorney General's office has that. But other than, so it's possible that you might get an order by tomorrow by 6, but it may be till next Thursday before you get it. Okay. So what do you prefer to do? I understand you have some reservations.
I
You
have
wanna
a
wait till next
question.
Thursday?
I have a question
Do you want to wait till next Thursday or do you want to start tomorrow? That's my question.
tomorrow.
Okay. What's your question?
So you say that I don't have the court order, right? If I were to go to jail for the same reasons, do you know if I would be able to get out if I show them that court order?
I have no idea. I cannot help you with that if that happens. I don't
Okay.
know exactly what's going to happen. Like I said, if you have those concerns, it might be better to wait until you have a court order. It's up to you. But
Okay.
you need to communicate with her. And that's why I'm saying right now, tomorrow is Thursday. If you want to wait till next week just to be safe, then let's just say it right now. I'm not going to come till next week because I don't want you showing up and there being problems, or you not showing up and there's problems. Let's be clear. So Ms. Gama knows what you're wanting to do. You feel better about coming next week?
I want to see him like as soon as possible. That's the thing. So I mean, I'm gonna just if she doesn't call the cops, then yeah, I'll just see him tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I can't guarantee she's not gonna call the cops, but Ms. Gama, do you understand what it is that we're doing tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then y'all are done with court. You can press leave on the Zoom to exit out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you sign this document when Alana was born?
I do not recall signing the document.
Is this your signature?
I do not write like that, no ma'am.
Do you believe that it is in Alana's best interest for the court to order genetic testing?
Absolutely not.